Good evening and welcome to NTD News. I'm Stephanie Cox. Here are today's top stories. Lawsuits filed against rapper Travis Scott and Live Nation in connection with Friday's deadly surge at the Astro World Festival. One plaintiff is seeking over $1 million. Football star Aaron Rodgers disappearing from commercials after refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. State Farm hasn't ended its partnership with Rodgers, but says it doesn't support some of Rodgers' comments on vaccines. A recent poll finds that President Biden's approval rating has hit a new low of 38%. This comes as a federal circuit court halted Biden's vaccine mandate for private businesses over the weekend. The U.S. and Europe tackling ransomware hackers. The Justice Department seizes millions and slams down charges in connection with cybercrimes. And the feds reaffirm their commitment to protecting stateside victims in fields from infrastructure to agriculture. And record high prices. And Americans aren't expecting them to drop anytime soon. Inflation expectations at an 8-year high. A concert goer injured at the Astro World Festival is suing rapper Travis Scott and others. This is one of at least 2 lawsuits filed in connection with the deadly surge at Friday night's concert. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that update and more from the plaintiff's lawyer.
Manuel Sosa claims he suffered serious bodily injuries when the crowd knocked him to the ground and trampled him. He's one of several who were injured at Houston's Astro World Festival, which turned violent and deadly on Friday. At least 8 never made it home. Sosa is taking legal action, suing the festival's organizers and promoters such as Live Nation, Score More, and even one of the rappers, Travis Scott.
Manuel was physically injured when he was at the concert. He was expecting to arrive, have a good time that night, and return home safe and sound.
Jesus Garcia Jr. is one of Sosa's attorneys.
Right, now in your lawsuit, you call what happened at the festival predictable and preventable tragedy. What makes you say that?
Well, even from the preliminary studies, the evidence that we've taken a look at, number one, Travis Scott himself has incited this kind of behavior from the crowds. The behavior was even happening in Houston early on throughout the concert, and it continued to happen. It was preventable because they were short-staffed, number one. Number two, they didn't have a good plan of crowd control.
We contacted Live Nation and Score More for comment, but we haven't heard back. Both companies and Travis Scott have said they're cooperating with law enforcement as authorities investigate what happened. Sosa's attorney mentioned that Scott encourages his fans to rage at his concert, which has gotten him in trouble with the law. Reports say the rapper's been convicted at least twice for encouraging fans to rush the stage. But we haven't seen evidence that Scott called for a rush at Friday's Astro World Festival. When the festival tickets sold out, however, he did say in a now-deleted tweet, "Nah, and we still sneaking the wild ones in."
I would plead to all those that are injured to not wait to hire a lawyer. Seek legal assistance right away. Waiting to see what happens in a month or 6 months is to your detriment.
Garcia says his client is seeking over $1 million in monetary relief. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
And survivors shared their experience of the Stampede at the concert last Friday. A security expert is anticipating that the tragedy will bring a change. NTD's Jim Battellini has more.
A high-energy crowd at Travis Scott's performance at the Astro World Festival last Friday. Fans surged toward the stage shortly after the concert began. Concert-goers describe a terrifying experience as those around them lost consciousness. An eyewitness recounts the chaos.
Absolutely not to be seen. I was able to see some people going down, some people getting carried out. We were trying to get some people out on our own. We tried our best to get as many as we could.
Some are criticizing Scott for continuing to perform even after the stampede occurred.
People passing out at festivals is very common, especially in the crowd, being in mosh pits. So it's something I'm used to, trying to help people out. But this has by far been the worst I've ever seen.
A security expert who routinely deals with large events says it may be close to impossible to stop a massive crowd from trampling on people.
Unfortunately, there's really nothing that can be done in those situations with that many people. It's a very large force and almost impossible to deal with.
Tragedies like this are unfortunately not a new thing. In 1979, 11 people died at a Who concert in Cincinnati. And in 1989, nearly 100 people were crushed during a soccer game in England.
Ultimately, with this situation, I don't care if you paid a guy $1 million, you can't prevent 50,000 people from trampling anybody. So I think we're all kind of sitting back waiting to see what the changes are going to be, because there's going to be changes.
The victims from Friday's Stampede range in age from 14 to 27. Travis Scott and Astroworld concert organizers are being sued by several audience members. Jim Battellini, NTD News, New York.
Insurance company State Farm is reacting to their brand ambassador Aaron Rodgers' comments on vaccines. The football star explained over the weekend why he's unvaccinated after he tested positive for the CCB virus. Here are the details.
It is time for the final question.
State Farm commercials featuring Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers are close to disappearing, according to Apex Marketing Group, a sponsorship and analytics company. Rodgers appeared in only around 1.5% of nearly 400 State Farm commercials that aired on Sunday. That's down from more than 20% the 2 Sundays before. This comes after Rodgers' comments on his vaccine situation last week. On Friday's Pat McAfee show, he explains why he decided not to get the COVID-19 vaccine, but he also says he's not anti-vax.
It was simply the fact that I have an allergy to an ingredient that's in the mRNA vaccines. So on the CDC's own website, it says, should you have an allergy to any of the ingredients, you should not get one of the mRNA vaccines. So
Rodgers says the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, which are mRNA vaccines, are out for him. And he chose not to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because he knows several people that had adverse reactions after getting the J&J shot.
I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have to acquiesce to some woke culture or crazed, group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fits-all.
The football star also said he got alternative treatments for the virus, including monoclonal antibodies and ivermectin. State Farm said in a statement Monday, Aaron Rodgers has been a great ambassador for our company for much of the past decade. We don't support some of the statements that he has made, but we respect his right to have his own personal point of view. We encourage vaccinations, but respect everyone's right to make a choice based on their personal circumstances. While State Farm hasn't ended its partnership with Rodgers, another company did. Healthcare organization Previa Health said Saturday that they and Rodgers have decided to end their 9-year partnership.
A federal appeals court on Saturday blocked the Biden administration's vaccine mandate for private employers, asserting there may be constitutional issues with the requirement. Several legal experts provide their analysis.
A ruling was issued by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on Saturday to temporarily block the Biden administration's vaccine mandate, which applies to 84 million workers at 1.9 million private sector companies. The White House, however, continued to defend its position on Monday.
We feel confident about the legal component of this. The Department of Labor has the authority to move forward in making sure that they keep the workplace safe.
The lawsuit was brought by multiple businesses and individuals, and several states, including Texas, Utah, and Mississippi. The suit seeks to strike down the mandate, which requires workers at companies with over 100 employees to be fully vaccinated or be tested weekly, starting January 4th. Petitioners said the mandate, issued by the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, exceeds OSHA's authority under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. The court ruling also says there are grave statutory and constitutional issues with the mandate.
First, COVID-19 is bad. Second, vaccines are good. I don't disagree with that. The problem is, where do you, as OSHA, get the authority in your statute to put this requirement on people?
Civil rights attorney Brooke Goldstein told NTD's Capitol Report that the real question is whether the mandate is constitutional.
What this is the executive branch, in my opinion, exercising extreme broad overreach, using the OSHA mandate to justify that, which is an administrative body within the executive.
She also cited concerns that the mandate violates people's basic rights.
The government should not have the right to force you to take a vaccine under the threat of losing your job.
So far, 27 states have filed lawsuits to halt the mandate for private companies, calling it an illegal, unconstitutional action.
It creates a situation where the states have to choose to either comply with what I think is a constitutionally questionable mandate, or potentially violate contracts, labor contracts, and come into conflict with labor unions.
Though facing strong pushback, the White House has said that they would defend the mandate in court.
President Biden's approval rating is currently at a new low of 38%. That's according to a new poll by USA Today and Suffolk University. They asked 1,000 registered voters last week what they want Biden to do in the next year. The number one response: leave office. NTD's Allison Lee has the details.
In the poll by USA Today and Suffolk University, 59% of respondents say they disapprove of the job Biden has done as president, while 37.8% say they approve. And 46% say Biden has done a worse job as president than they expected. That includes 16% of those who voted for him. The poll also asked the voters what they think is the single most important thing for Biden to do in the next year. The top response is to resign from office. 20% of respondents say this. The number two response is working on the economy and jobs, while uniting the country is number three. The Democrats seem to be at a disadvantage heading into the 2022 midterms. 46% of respondents say if the midterms were today, they would vote for their Republican congressional candidate, and 38% say they would vote for the Democrat. Now, when it comes to Biden himself, 39% of those who voted for him hope he won't run again in 2024, and 50% of them hope he will. Former President Trump did better on this question. 26% of those who voted for him hope he won't run again, and 65% hope he will. Overall, 66% of the respondents say the country has gotten on the wrong track. Only 20% say they believe the country is heading in the right direction. Allison Lee, NTD News.
The Biden administration is launching a nationwide effort to get kids vaccinated against COVID-19. They're encouraging schools to host vaccination clinics. And First Lady Jill Biden today visited one historic school in Virginia to kick off these efforts. NTD's Melina Weiskup reports.
Just 1 week after the CDC recommended the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-old children, the Biden administration kicking off its campaign to get kids vaccinated. First Lady Jill Biden and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy made a stop by a public elementary school in Virginia to promote the school's vaccination clinic.
So let's give a round of applause to all the brave kids here who got their shots.
This school has a history of promoting vaccines. In 1954, it became the first school to offer vaccine clinical trials to children. At that time, it was the shot against polio.
So how do I open it?
The Biden administration's Health and Human Services Secretary and Education Secretary joining the effort to push the COVID-19 vaccines in schools. This morning, they sent a letter to school superintendents and elementary school principals around the nation, urging them to host vaccination clinics to get kids vaccinated at schools. And this is just day one of the Biden administration's efforts to get kids vaccinated. The First Lady plans to visit many pediatricians in the coming weeks to promote these efforts. As it stands right now, around 200 million Americans, that is just over half of the population, has been fully vaccinated. And the push to give kids the shot doesn't stop with leaders giving speeches. The message is making its way to kids at their own level. A 1970s clip of Sesame Street resurfaced over the weekend, promoting the idea of getting the vaccine to kids. This clip shows the character Big Bird at a vaccine site, ready to get the shot.
Hey, I know what I'm going to do right away.
What are you going to do?
I want to get in line.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz criticizes the resurfaced clip, writing on Twitter, "Government propaganda for your 5-year-old." Cruz introduced a bill to block the government or public schools from mandating kids to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccine mandates have been common in schools for years, but some people are strongly opposing the mandates now. Some say they're lacking trust in the science. Others have lost trust in government transparency. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Justice Department is taking action against ransomware criminals. A Ukrainian national is now facing charges for conducting a ransomware attack. The person allegedly targeted a major infotech firm, for one. And the department has seized millions of dollars in connection with possible ransomware criminals. NTD's Kevin Hogan has the details.
22-year-old Ukrainian Yaroslav Vasinski is charged with conducting ransomware attacks on multiple victims. That includes the attack on the multinational information technology company Kaseya. The Justice Department also seized funds traceable to alleged ransom payments.
The Justice Department has seized $6.1 million tied to the ransom proceeds of another alleged REvil ransomware attacker, Russian national Yevgeny Polyanin. As set forth in the public filings related to the seizure, Polyanin, whom we also charged by indictment, is alleged to have conducted approximately 3,000 ransomware attacks.
REvil is a hacking group linked to Russia that has been tied to many other breaches. And now the Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco says the department will come after attackers who target victims in the States.
These victims are networks of information technology providers. They are financial services firms. They are critical infrastructure entities, nonprofits, law enforcement agencies, local governments, and food and agricultural suppliers.
This comes as Europe's police agency arrests 2 suspected hackers. They're accused of ransomware attacks that have led to 5,000 infections. Officials say those attacks are linked to the gang REvil. The group was behind the attack on JBS Foods, according to the FBI. The Bureau's director, Christopher Wray, says in the recent attack, Kaseya alerted them immediately, and the two were able to address the danger together.
Here, we were able to obtain a decryption key that allowed us to generate a usable capability to unlock Kaseya's customers' data. We immediately strategized with our interagency partners and reached a carefully considered decision about how to help the most companies possible, both by providing the key and by maximizing our government's impact on our adversaries who were continuing to mount new attacks.
Authorities are now trying to extradite Vasinski to the U.S. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
Philadelphia held the city's 7th annual Veterans Parade on Sunday. Last year's event had to be held virtually, but this year people gathered outdoors to honor the men and women who've served in our nation's military. NTD's Shen Yun has more.
Colorful floats, marching bands, and a brigade of over 250 motorcycles headed east on Philadelphia's Market Street. The national anthem was sung, followed by a military flyover with 2 paratroopers conducting a dramatic and coordinated jump. This was the city's annual Veterans Day parade on Sunday. Last year's event was virtual due to the pandemic, but this year, downtown streets are alive with crowds of veterans, their family members, and thousands of supporters.
So I'm very happy that at least it's in person, and it seems like there's a lot of energy, and I love how everybody has a flag here and they're waving it and cheering for all our troops.
Christina Whitney's husband was in the Army for 30 years. She attended to show her support and appreciation for all veterans, and she also brought her children.
So I want them to honor their father and honor all the men and women that fought for our country, and I think it's important for them to be here.
This event is one of many around the country during Veterans Month, November, providing a chance for Americans to acknowledge those heroes who served our nation. Chenny Wu, NTD News.
And another city, Boston, also held its annual Veterans Day parade ahead of the national holiday. This year's celebration will continue throughout November, with the Saturday parade kickstarting Veterans Month.
Just a few days before the official start of Veterans Day on November 11th, residents in Boston caught an early glimpse of the Veterans Day parade on Saturday. More than 20 units joined the march, including the Danvers Falcons marching band, various color guard troops, and members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Department in Massachusetts.
It's a small parade this year, and hopefully next year it will be even bigger yet.
We live in the greatest country on earth, and it's very important that people come out and remember that the veterans that have put their lives on the line to give everybody their freedoms.
The parade began 12 p.m. at the corner of the Boston Common Public Park. It proceeded down Boylston Street to Tremont Street, crossing the famous Freedom Trail, and ended at Boston's Government Center. Cars slowly rolled by, with local veterans waving to the crowd. A number of veterans groups participated. Among them, the ROC Veteran Association in Boston, representing veterans of Taiwan. Other Chinese-American groups included the American Legion Boston Chinatown, Post 328. One member said he served in the Army for 13 years.
We don't often have many community organizations out here and community partnerships out here to recognize us. So hopefully today's a good turnout to recognize that, hey, Chinese-Americans, we contributed greatly to this country.
Acting Mayor Kim Janey and Mayor-elect Michelle Wu also marched with the procession, accompanied by several city council members.
Wonderful to see so many families out, and I'm so grateful for all of the hard work to put together this event. It's really important to remember all the sacrifices that came before us so we could enjoy our democracy and liberty and this amazing city. So I'm very, very grateful for the celebration.
The parade was organized by the American Legion and the City of Boston Office of Veterans Services. Other traditional Veterans Day ceremonies will continue throughout November.
The U.S. is lifting the travel ban for a long list of countries that's been in place for almost 20 months. Hotel and travel businesses are particularly excited. NTD's Phil Zoe has more.
The U.S. is allowing visitors from over 30 countries, including Canada, Mexico, most of Europe, and more. How is that going to impact businesses, including this hotel right here in Manhattan? Let's go find out more. I spoke to John Fitzpatrick, the owner of the Fitzpatrick Grand Central Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Business was down 95% at one point during the pandemic. He is excited about the news.
It's like Christmas Day, St. Patrick's Day, every day coming together. International travel is the most important. I mean, it's, $47 billion worth of tourism. That's what tourism represents here in New York.
He says international travelers usually stay longer and spend more money.
They come because they want to spend 6 or 7 days in the city. So they're going to go to Broadway, they're going to shop. They do everything together. It's all in one.
Alex Malbranch over at Plane Ahead says the influx of travelers will create chaos at the airlines.
There's going to be an adjustment for the airlines in order to really get the right amount of staffing and the right amount of flights to be able to take on that sort of capacity.
But overall, the industry is staying positive about lifting the travel ban.
We're still really bullish on the short-term and long-term full recovery of the travel industry and hospitality sector.
Fitzpatrick agrees.
But look, we're open and we're moving along, and I think we'll get back by the mid next year, the end of next year.
Travelers under the age of 18 are exempt from the vaccination requirements. 50 countries, including Haiti, Afghanistan, Iraq, and much of Africa, are also exempt from the vax mandate. One reason is there's not a lot of vaccines available at these countries. Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
Coming up, thousands of people ran over 26 miles across New York City this weekend. Runners and fans tell us why they loved it and what running can do for you. Find out more here on NTD News. President Biden hosted the Milwaukee Bucks at the White House today. He praised the NBA champions for their hard work and dedication.
I just want to thank you. I want to thank Drew Holiday and his wife Lauren, who, by the way, is probably a better athlete. You're good, but I tell you what, you married way up, pal.
The chief executive paid tribute to the team and posed for pictures with them. And the players presented the president with his own Milwaukee Bucks jersey. The last NBA team to visit the White House was the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016. And the 50th New York City Marathon is in the books. Thousands of runners from all over the world ran across the Big Apple on Sunday. NTD's Arian Pazdar was at the event.
The 50th anniversary was supposed to be last year, but then of course the pandemic happened. This year's marathon, however, was held at full scale. Thousands of fans cheered along the route. What do you like about the New York City Marathon?
Everyone coming together. The whole world comes together to run Central Park, all of New York City. It's an amazing feeling, especially after COVID.
It brings together everybody. It's inspiring. You see all the elite athletes to like just your everyday people out here running, laying it out all on the line.
Albert Korir of Kenya won the men's race. He says the run was challenging, but still enjoyable.
Because it's somehow tough, but we enjoy it.
Paris Chepchirchir, also from Kenya, won the women's race. She's the only athlete to win both Olympic marathon gold and the New York City Marathon in her career. And she won gold just 3 months ago in Tokyo. Even if you don't run yourself, you can probably imagine how hard it must be to run a marathon, especially if you're not a professional runner. Now, most people here are not professionals, so we asked them why they chose to take on the race.
Oh man, there are so many happiness, health, heart, there's endless benefits.
Of course, it can be difficult to pick up running. Any advice?
Slowly start, but baby steps.
Start small. Don't tell yourself you're going to do a marathon next week. Do a mile and then build your way up.
Just do it. Do it. If anything New York City will teach you is that everyone can run. It doesn't matter your speed or anything.
Registration for the 2022 New York City Marathon is open for anyone who wants to join the race next year. Ariane Pastar, NTD News, New York.
Federal agents seized $4 million worth of heroin in a New York City apartment and arrested 2 suspects. One of them has been wanted for almost a decade. Almost 30 pounds of heroin were found in the apartment in the Bronx. Authorities observed the complex for months and noticed the 2 suspects entering frequently. On November 4th, they tried to arrest the men when they left the building with a big bag, but the suspects managed to flee. That's when authorities searched the apartment, finding drugs and illegal guns. They finally arrested the men some hours later. A court read the suspects' charges over the weekend. And coming up, California's Governor Gavin Newsom has not been seen in public since he got his booster shot. His wife also deleted a tweet hinting at his obligations while he's absent.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work.
The new MyPillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99. Or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel sets, regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code.
In every country communism gains power, authoritarianism and death followed in its wake. Communism promises a world without suffering, and yet, in its execution, does the exact opposite. Following Lenin's death, Stalin's 29-year reign killed an estimated 60 to 66 million people. More famines and purges would occur. The very peasants that communism was supposed to benefit instead starved to death under its rule. The party dictates what is right and wrong. Mao ended up killing between 50 million and 70 million people. As an investigative journalist, I want to understand why.
California's governor has not made a public appearance since getting a CCP virus booster shot almost 2 weeks ago. The office also did not respond to reporters' questions about what he's been doing. Here's NTD's Eileen Ang with more details.
Governor Gavin Newsom has not been seen since getting a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot on October 27th. Newsom received a Moderna booster shot. He mixed and matched with the Johnson & Johnson shot.
I'm choosing not to do J&J today, not because I had any problems with J&J. In fact, it went beautifully, but to make the point about the opportunity to mix and match.
On October 29th, the governor's office announced Newsom canceled plans to attend the United Nations Climate Summit in Scotland to deal with unspecific family obligations. A spokesperson said that Newsom planned to participate in the climate conference virtually, but a schedule released later did not feature any virtual events with Newsom. The office did not respond to questions about what the governor has been doing. Newsom submitted some pre-recorded remarks to another conference. And on Halloween, he posted a photo on his Instagram account with his wife and 4 children dressed as pirates. Newsom's Twitter account was quiet from October 28th until Election Day on November 2nd. His account became more active as the week went on. A screenshot from Sunday shows Newsom's wife, Jennifer, posting a tweet about his absence, suggesting a list of obligations. The tweet was deleted after. It's rare but not unprecedented for Newsom to go a whole week without some type of appearance. Such absences are usually explained, including when Newsom leaves the state for vacation. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
And staying on the West Coast, a school district says they're investigating a situation after students received a controversial quiz question. The question asked students to identify various groups of people in an insulting manner. We hear more from NTD's David Lamb.
In Northern California, a social science teacher recently gave a quiz to students on Thursday. But students, families, and the community have raised concerns over one of the quiz questions.
Whitney High School is located in the city of Rockland, about 20 miles from Sacramento. A photo of a controversial multiple-choice question was shared on Facebook. It asked respondents to identify a group of complete idiots. There were 4 available answers: KKK, all of Florida, Fox News, or Texans. The woman who posted the screenshot said the picture came from her friend's son that was in the class. Some responded saying the question was inappropriate and wanted to call the school. The woman told Fox 40 Sacramento that it sounded unbelievable.
We all have different beliefs. This is, the United States. We all come from different backgrounds, and everybody should be okay with who they are.
The principal of Whitney High School sent a statement to the school community on Friday, saying that the school is committed to investigate any campus incident that may make a group of students feel uncomfortable so the Wildcat family can grow from them.
Now, the principal stated that the personal details are confidential, but that they share their concerns and will take disciplinary steps. The school and school district wasn't able to provide further details by press deadline. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A peaceful rally turned violent over the weekend at a public park in downtown Boston. The event was held to protest vaccination mandates, but at one point, Antifa groups arrived and started clashing with demonstrators. Here's more.
Security! Violence flared up at the Boston Common on Sunday after Antifa groups clashed with participants from the Rise Against Tyranny protest.
Why are we fixing something that's not broken?
The Super Happy Fun America organization organized the event to oppose mask and vaccine mandates. Before conflict broke out at noon, around 100 attendees were seen singing the national anthem, chanting slogans, and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As the rally went on, protesters from opposing groups gathered on the other side of nearby police fences, holding communist flags and signs that read, "Death to Fascism." Some even tried to dismantle the fences and storm the rally. Several physical altercations ensued. Riot police reacted quickly to separate the two groups. But the counter-protesters, linked to the Antifa group, then marched to the other side of the park. There, they managed to breach the fence. Police armed with batons and riot gear assembled to clear the area. The brief conflict alarmed many of the rally-goers. One of them brought a placard reading, "See people, not sides." He said it's important to look at the rationale behind the different positions instead of being blinded by hate.
It's kind of turning into a bad YouTube comments section where people just start calling names and
dehumanizing each other. And I don't think that's the way out of this. I think we need to be diplomatic. We need to be respectful of each other, listen to each other's concerns, and remember at the end of the day, no matter what side people are on, they're all human beings.
Both sides left before 2 p.m. According to the Boston Police Department, 2 people were arrested. They could face minor charges like disorderly conduct.
Tesla shares are down almost 5% after CEO Elon Musk held a Twitter poll asking whether he should sell 10% of his stock. NTD's Faye Quarter has the details.
The results are in. On Saturday, Elon Musk tweeted, "Much is made lately of unrealized gains being a means of tax avoidance. So I propose selling 10% of my Tesla stock. Do you support this?" Out of 3.5 million voters, 57.9% said yes.
And he said thereafter that he would bind himself to this decision, even though he has no legal obligation to do so. If Twitter decides he's going to sell, he would offload, which would be at least $25 billion worth of stock.
Nicholas Creel is an assistant professor of business law at Georgia College and State University. Creel says Musk wants to turn public opinion against a proposed tax on billionaires that makes them pay taxes on unrealized capital gains.
He's just wanting to try to get more attention on this issue, which we already know isn't exactly well understood by the public. And by going ahead and doing it in this way, it was very likely to get a lot more people talking about it and then getting back on that issue and to perhaps take it in a way that would be more friendly to what he wants to happen, which is ultimately to have that policy get killed before it ever comes to be.
However, the story doesn't end there. Musk received stock options in 2012 for 22.8 million shares at the strike price of $6.24 per share. Right now, Tesla is trading above $1,000, meaning Musk could make a little under $28 billion if he executes the options. And the key part is this: the options are expiring soon, next year in August. If he doesn't exercise them before then, he'll just lose it all. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
Coming up, fierce panic buying in China. The scene was chaotic in one shop, with people pushing and yelling as some tripped and fell. Panic buying is getting rough in some parts of China. Some say a sight similar to Black Fridays in the U.S. And at the same time, other parts of China are experiencing powerful snowstorms. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the details.
Panic buying in China continues following China's Commerce Ministry's notice last week that recommended citizens stock up on food for the winter. In many parts of China, residents are buying in a frenzy. Goods like pork, rice, and vegetables in grocery stores are having a hard time keeping up with the demand. A number of store shelves are empty or near empty. Panic buying has reached cutthroat levels in some areas, similar to the sight occasionally seen on Black Fridays in the U.S. In China's Hebei province, a horde of locals sprinted into a grocery store the second it opened for business. The scene was chaotic. People were pushing, shoving, and yelling. Some tripped and fell. Following the Commerce Ministry's notice, many citizens are speculating whether there's an impending food shortage. An early season snowstorm blanketed parts of northern China over the weekend. Authorities forecast up to 11 inches of snow in some areas. Roads were closed and flights were canceled. And China's national weather forecaster issued its second highest weather warning. In Beijing, the snow this year came almost a month earlier than expected. And temperatures hovered around 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The snow has caused more than 170 bus lines and 9 trains to be suspended, and 10 flights were canceled. The blizzard has also swept to neighboring provinces like Hebei and Tianjin. At least 6 other provinces are affected as well. Together, some 140 highways have been shuttered. The blizzard is getting attention nationwide. On Chinese social media platform Weibo, the hashtag Beijing's first snow has racked up nearly 1.2 billion views. The snow and drop in temperature comes on the heels of a coal supply crunch and electricity rationing in northeast China.
A media outlet backed by the Chinese Communist Party has published a 12,000-word article listing party leader Xi Jinping's achievements. That's before an important meeting in Beijing, which some speculate may pave the way for Xi's third five-year term in office. But many are questioning the authenticity of those so-called accomplishments. Here's more.
The Chinese Communist Party kicked off a major meeting on Monday. The four-part meeting is attended by the party's Central Committee officials. It's being held in Beijing behind closed doors. This is a key gathering for settling a new group of top party leaders. Communist Party leader Xi Jinping is eyeing an unprecedented third five-year term in office. The plenary meeting is expected to set the tone for his move. A Sunday report from French broadcaster Radio France Internationale, or RFI, says the CCP media mouthpiece is trying to make Xi Jinping a god. Xinhua News published a long article over the weekend listing Xi Jinping's achievements in his 9 years in office. But the report triggered many questions. For example, Xinhua praised Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign, but it is widely considered a tool for Xi to eliminate his enemies within the party. The Xinhua report also lists Xi Jinping's diplomatic achievements, quoting Xi as saying, "Our friends are all over the world." However, in the eyes of many observers, the greatest failure of Xi Jinping's administration has been China's increasing isolation in the international community. Xinhua's Xi Jinping Homage uses many big words to cement his personality cult. A French media professional commented, "Xi Jinping is the son of the world, the savior of mankind, and no one realizes how ungrateful they are." RFI commented the media put all the merit on one person, the most important indication they're trying to make him into a god.
Hundreds of workers from Poland's energy sector protested outside the European Union's office in Warsaw on Saturday, blaming soaring energy prices on the EU's moves to discourage coal. Trade union leaders say the EU's energy policies will harm Poland's economy. We've got more from NTD's Lily Joe.
Some 200 power plant and coal mine workers from across Poland protested against the government's decision to phase out coal plants amid soaring energy prices. Blowing horns and waving union flags, their campaign slogan was, "Yes to Poland's energy sovereignty, no to high energy and heating prices."
Why should we not use our resources? Why shouldn't we base our economy on what we have in the country? Why should we be dependent on a gas tap that someone will turn on or off, depending on whether we are polite or transfer taxes to neighbouring countries? We cannot allow this.
The sector is a major employer in Poland, with the country getting more than half of its electricity from black and brown coal. Some are worried about unemployment.
Transformation, yes, but under fair conditions. Calm, slow, such that you can replace every job that is about to be liquidated with a job in a related industry, where you earn similarly, where you have similar respect and prestige, and not low-quality jobs.
Poland has pledged to phase out coal use by 2049. Like other EU member nations, the focus will be on developing wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources instead. Lily Zhou, NTD News.
Now to Spain. Spaniards are also feeling the pinch as they see their utility bills skyrocket. Several hundred in Barcelona came out in protest over the weekend. Electricity prices in Spain have risen over 400% this year. The government response so far was not able to stem the trend. This report comes from NTD's Ana Rodriguez.
Hundreds of people marched through Barcelona last weekend, protesting against rises in the price of electricity.
Not only are we angry, we also feel cheated, because in the end the problem is that the energy companies don't feel empathy towards the citizens, and we think that they are literally robbing us, literally.
Electricity costs in Spain have gone up over 400% this year. This largely as a result of a global wholesale energy price crunch, especially natural gas.
We are talking about basic needs. We need electricity for hygiene and nutrition. And it's incredible that the oligopoly of the energy companies should have this kind of control over the prices.
Spain relies more than other countries in Europe on energy imports. In response to the hikes, the Spanish government since the summer has passed regulatory changes like tax cuts. But the Prime Minister in October said the measures have caused more harm than good. Official figures show consumer prices in Spain increased in October by the highest rate in 29 years, largely as a result of soaring electricity costs. Due to increased demand in winter, they are expected to keep rising. Anna Rodriguez, NTD News.
Coming up, dazzling lights are illuminating a botanic garden in Chicago. We'll hear from the organizer's vice president and see what's on display. And a motor show in London showcases both new and classic cars, including the Land Rover Defender that was featured in the latest James Bond film, No Time to Die. Find out more in just a moment here on NTD News.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
With the holidays right around the corner, Chicago Botanic Garden will be celebrating with its enchanting Lightscape exhibition for the third year. One of the top people in charge shares what's special about the display.
On November 12th, Lightscape will transform the Chicago Botanic Garden in Glencoe, Illinois into an after-dark artistic lights wonderland.
And each year, we really concentrate on bringing new things to the audiences because we want people to return each year. So 80% of the trail is new.
At nightfall, Lightscape illuminates a 1.25 mile trail, immersing visitors in its twinkling magic.
And so you'll see things like floraison, which is flowers. It's brought to us by a French company. And so you'll see poppies hanging from trees. You'll also see kinetic hues, which are 12 perpendicular structures that are very colorful and engaging. But you'll see old things too that people just absolutely have to see, which is Winter Cathedral. You really want to come and see them because they're all very different. Some of them have points of lights like Winter Cathedral, and those are a few hundred points of lights. But then you're going to come upon something totally different that is, like a perpendicular structure that has very colorful, octagon structure lights.
Inspired by the Botanic Garden, creatively configured shapes and colors of the lights unveil exciting and engaging adventures to everyone.
If you are interested in coming, you're going to want to buy your tickets now because we're pretty sure we're going to sell out before we open. So please go online to chicagobotanic.org/Lightscape and buy your tickets now.
Lightscape has been a popular family event since its inception in 2019 and will be on display from November 12th to January 2nd, 2022.
London's iconic Regent Street was lined with cars of all types on Saturday. After a 2-year gap, the yearly motor show took place. Stylish classics, elegant veteran cars, and even one for James Bond fans were among the many cars there. NTD's Neil Woodrow was there and tells us more from the event.
Regent Street is renowned for its famous brands, including Hamleys. But for one day a year, they close the road to traffic and play host to the Regent Street Motor Show. Veteran and modern are here, including hydrogen and a car from the latest Bond film. First staged in 2005, the annual Regent Street Motor Show returns. The street, closed from Piccadilly Circus to Oxford Circus, is filled with glittering collections of cars, plus some car-themed family entertainment for young and older. A timeline of automotive evolution are on display, featuring the full spectrum of motoring history. The chairman of the Royal Automobile Club, or RAC, who are the organisers, was on hand to introduce the event to us.
We've got a fabulous display of cars through 3 centuries, starting in the late 1800s and going to the very latest and most current cars.
Some were drawn to this vehicle that some of you might recognise. This is a Land Rover Defender, featured in the latest James Bond film No Time to Die. 10 were produced and unfortunately 8 did die and 2 remained. This is one of them. These versions of the car have to be beefed up for the action-packed car chase and especially for those giant leaps. And here's the power, nitrous oxide, and it's this that helped project the vehicle through the air for 30 metres at 3 metres above the ground. A hydrogen fuel cell car was there, representative of the latest technology.
But to all intents and purposes, it's an electric vehicle. It just stores the energy on board in a different format. So people familiar with standard electric vehicles, there's a big battery in it. The electricity is stored in the battery. On a fuel cell vehicle, there's compressed hydrogen in a tank. The hydrogen is converted to electricity through the fuel stack and drives an electric motor.
The biggest crowd surrounded the veteran cars. This is an 1896 Lutzmann from Germany that was based on a traditional horse-drawn carriage. Celebrating its 125th anniversary, the motor show gives way the next day to a London to Brighton run. Many will take part and were dressed for the occasion, just like this group of 4. The gentleman says he looks after his car by giving it regular runs and attention.
I tinker with it. I've got a little bit of skill that's been passed on from my dad and my other family members, but yeah, I can keep it going, keeping it on the road. They call it sort of greasy rag. Just keep it well oiled, keep it going, and it seems to keep on doing well. It's lasted 120 years, so that's not too bad.
This car is a Renault from 1902. The gentleman told us about the effort it takes to drive these cars, as they didn't have the modern clutch system as used in today's manual vehicles.
Difficult to drive, not easy, like a crash box. So you're grating gears half the time, trying to get them into gear. There's no synchromesh on these at all. That wasn't invented till the 60s, was it, I believe, somewhere.
Those on the London to Brighton run are all geared up with their cars and clothing. We wish them a good trip. Neil Woodrow, NTD News, London.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox.
Before you go, here's something you should know. Don't forget you can catch all of NTD's programs on television. NTD Business premieres live Mondays through Fridays at 5 p.m. We broadcast to many of your favorite platforms, Apple TV and Roku, for example. We're also rapidly growing on cable, satellite, and over-the-air all across the United States. Just go to ntd.com/TV, type in your zip code, and find all the ways you can watch NTD.